His head fell off.
Hey, this is Blake Davis with ProTech Inspections, joined by Mr. Johnny Drake of Upstate Pest Pros for episode 6 of our Truth Over Harmony podcast. Please take a moment to take a look at all of our contract partners as they support us and support you. And also take a moment to find us on Facebook and Instagram, Pro-Tech Inspections, and be sure to like and subscribe. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us for episode 6 of Truth Over Harmony. We are in our new podcast studio at our new office. I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Johnny Drake with Upstate Pest Pros. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. Johnny, one of the first things I like to kind of talk with people about when they get in here is what's your work history? What got you into your field? Things like that. So, I know that you've got some extensive background in pest control, but tell our audience a little bit about, what your work history looks like. How you got into Upstate Pest Pros.
It was really kind of by accident. I got tired of doing the things I was doing before. Was more in the automotive field. Of course, the industry had changed where they were putting the small businessman out of business. So I was like, get smart, go find something else that's not going to go away. And I happened to run across an ad for a salesman for Pest Control company. Mm-hmm. And I applied, and of course, I got it, and that was in 2006. Really found out that I liked doing it because, I got a screwdriver, a flashlight, and I go looking for bugs. I'm 8 years old again. So, that was the fun part about it, and it evolved from there because then once I learned to sell it, and then I wanted to learn how to service it. Mm-hmm. Then once I learned how to service it, I want to learn how to manage it, and it just evolved into there.
Mm-hmm. So you have about a little under 20 years of experience, right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, right around 18.
Gotcha. And so that has always been in the upstate area, South Carolina?
It's the southeast, which is the buggiest part of the United States.
That is very true, yes. And you've worked small business, big business. You've kind of been in both seats.
Realms.
So what's kind of your take on working in the small business realm? Why are you doing Upstate Pest Pros versus staying with maybe one of the bigger companies that you worked for in the past?
What the bigger company is you're more of a statistic. Their way they look at things is numbers, where the small businessman looks at the individual customers. Mm-hmm. So I'm more customer service, more customer based. I like being one-on-one with customers. I was the kind of manager, even with the big business, I used to go to customers' houses when they had problems and stuff. But it didn't really afford me the time to do things like that and run the business and stuff. So that's why I left the big business and go start working in the smaller stuff. It gave me a better work-life balance too. Mm-hmm. So all in all, I think it's better, and it's more truly this business that we do now, or I do now, stays in the upstate.
Yeah. Gotcha. Very nice. So obviously working in pest control, Johnny, you do a lot in terms of real estate industry work. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows that when you're going to go buy a house, if you're getting that financed, which most folks are, that lender is going to require you to have a CL100 done. That's just your basic termite inspection, making sure that everything's good under there. It also looks for standing water and moisture readings, things like that. But tell us, what a CL100 is, A, and then B, what are some of the main things that people get confused on when they're looking at those CL100s?
Well, the main thing about CL100, everybody thinks the CL stands for clearance. Mm-hmm. The CL actually stands for Clemson letter. All other states use the national MPMA's termite letter for transactions. Mm-hmm. South Carolina has its own, and Clemson is our regulatory commission. So they made the letter, so only South Carolina uses CL100. And the reason for that is because the homes and stuff that are built here are different. They're Florida, they're all slabs. There's no air conditioning underneath. There's no, so that they're not worried about it. So that's why South Carolina developed their own, because we have such a hodgepodge of different types of buildings. And this letter kind of helps with all of that. It's not only for termites, it's for other wood-destroying insects, which is powder post beetles, old house borers, and wood-destroying fungus. There's a lot of different fungus. You'll find fungus under everybody's house. I have fungus under my house, but it's not wood-destroying. You got to have high moisture levels before you really start inviting that into your atmosphere. So the lenders, when they look at it, they look for, there's yes and no questions on the first page. The second page is to explain those yes and no questions if they're answered yes. And what the lender looks at, if something's yes, then they should be going to the second page. Some of them don't. They just see a yes and they deny it. And that's, like number 4 on there is moisture levels. If it's above 20, then it's not a clear letter. But it could be marked yes and it be under 20, but you have, like you said earlier, standing water. And they just want to know why. Why is there standing water? Right now, everybody's having standing water because all their AC ductwork is condensating, and it's just dripping right on top of their moisture barrier, which is still doing its job, keeping the ambient moisture from coming up. But lenders want to know, hey, was it because of rain? Was it because of this? Is there a busted pipe? They want to know kind of a little more detail with that. But usually if they go to the second page, it's there. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends on the lender. And the lender can really, call it a clear letter or not a clear letter without me. And then they'll call me back and ask me to reword it. And I'm like, sorry, that's just the way I worded it's the way it is. It is what it is. It's what I saw that day. And it's like damages. They want me to always say, well, it doesn't need repairs. I'm not certified or qualified to say that, but I am qualified to say I see it. So that's what it is. It's a snapshot of that day of what I saw, taking readings, moisture readings, and everything else visually that I saw. And it's only good for 30 days.
Now, why is it only good for 30 days?
It used to be 45, but they shortened it because things can happen in 45 days. Things can still happen 30. It could be perfect today. They go and buy the house and they go into their house and like, where all this water come from? Then they try to keep it more current by shortening the time.
Right. Just because there's a lot of things that can happen the longer
period of time. Yeah, things will happen.
Shoot, we see a bunch of stuff change in just a week or even a couple days.
Oh yeah.
And touching on that, moisture control is what we see, and what you're kind of talking about is one of the things that cause a letter to not be cleared, things like that. And this time of year in South Carolina, it's really humid, really moist outside. A lot of crawl spaces, we're seeing a lot of higher moisture readings. Let's touch on that a little bit more. Is there anything that folks can do to be proactive to help for something like that?
Well, the first thing is making sure what type of ductwork you have under your house. Some is solid, galvanized, some is flex, whatever you may have. But if you have the older solid ones, make sure it's insulated. If it's not insulated, it's going to start condensating, and then once it does, it gets into the insulation wrap that's there, it makes it wet, and then you ruined it. Insulation gets wet, it's kind of ruined. And a lot of people didn't used to really care about moisture, and it is a silent killer. It's more silent than termites. You're not going to hear termites either, but the moisture will get in places that you don't even think about. So it's pretty important. It's become more important now as people want to get into molds, and we do not do anything with molds. I don't call anything mold. That has to be done by a certified person. They have to take samples and do all that stuff. So I never use the word mold. It's even in the CL100 letter that none of this is for mold.
Right.
But there are conditions that you can make favorable for mold and not favorable for mold. Getting things below 28%, mold can't grow.
Okay.
So this is why the moisture level is important. Now that there's small windows, you're talking 20 to 28. That's only 8%. Perfect for wood is 13 because you got to have some pliability in there. If you dry it out too fast, which we saw the other day, it cracks. All that joist will just start cracking because the molecular bond of the wood can't hold anymore.
Right.
And it just starts separating.
Right.
So you got to have some moisture, which sounds crazy to say. We're talking about moisture control, but that's what it is. Control. It's not moisture elimination. We're not trying to get it down to zero. If you do, then you're going to step on your floor and you're going to go through it.
Right.
But moisture control is very, very important. So you have high moisture in your house today. I come out tomorrow and fix it. Doesn't mean it's going to be fixed the next day. It didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. It's a process over time. But there are certain ways you can help make it go down faster, like putting dehumidifiers under there and sealing off the crawl. Sometimes it doesn't need to be that extreme. You can just put a moisture barrier down, and that helps. I think all crawls in South Carolina should have a moisture barrier. It's worth its weight in gold.
Right.
It does a function.
Now, why in just South Carolina there?
Well,
Are there other areas of the country that they can get away with maybe not having to have that? And why is that the case?
Because you're in the southeast, you got your AC units under your house, which is so now you got cold air versus the vents being open and hot humid air coming in. It's like leaving a glass of iced tea outside. About a half hour later, you got water droplets on the outside of it. Well, that's the same thing your ductwork's doing. We have so many different types of soil because being in the foothills, we have hard red clay, we have soft topsoil, we have sandy. I mean, we got it all, and water will permeate, will go right through it. We have high water tables being at the foothill of the mountains. There's a lot of crawl spaces in a few neighborhoods around in upstate Greenville that I can go in and probably dig 4 inches down and hit water.
Wow.
And so that's what I'm saying. So this is why all this stuff is important here. And the construction, you got basement homes, you got slab homes, you got combination homes, your crawl homes, you got high crawls, you got low crawls. I mean, we got a gambit of types of construction. There's not one that's foolproof that says it's the best.
Right. But that is keeping that moisture at bay and keeping it under.
With the moisture barrier, you're keeping it in the soil. And if the land is graded properly, it should go away from the house.
Gotcha.
You should always have gutter systems. You should have a gutter, but you should have the systems and things pointed away from the house. And water, best time is to go by a house or look at a house, pouring down rain.
Yeah.
You'll see what's happening around the house.
And we always say that in terms of inspections, if you're gonna find a good bit more issues sometimes with a home when it's wet outside, just because if there's any leaks or anything in the attic or coming in through the crawl like you're talking about,
that's when you
see it so much easier. And our guys, they'll go and use thermal cameras. We can't see behind walls or anything like that, but sometimes. Perfect example is if you have a clogged up gutter, sometimes that water will actually come up over and get into the soffits, and then you got water running down into behind your walls, but we wouldn't really see that. But on a day like today where it's raining out, when they're shooting that thermal image, then they can actually see the cooler water behind the wall. So absolutely, I agree with you there.
And what happens with that, talking about my job, is that water seeps down in the wall. Nobody sees it. It eventually makes its way down the foundation and into the ground. Termites do not go looking for wood. Termites go looking for moisture. So if there's an abundance of moisture happening there, it's drawing termites to it.
Gotcha. And one other thing I kind of wanted to touch on in terms of moisture control, talking about having your crawl space be at that appropriate level so it's not letting, certain funguses grow, things like that under there. To my understanding, there's a very high percentage of the air that we breathe is coming from your crawl space in your home, isn't it? What is that?
Depending on how it was built, when it was built, it can be anywhere from 30 to 50%. So half the air you breathe in your home is coming from your crawl. So by putting a dehumidifier under there, you're conditioning the atmosphere down there. It's two good things that happen from that: cleaner air, less fungal growth. Second thing is your crawl space now will become whatever the first floor is. So if it's 70 degrees up here, it's going to be right about 70 down there. So now your AC's not fighting as hard to work, to cool things, whatever, because now you got another blanket of air insulation that's happening down there. So eventually, over time, when I say it pays for itself, I mean, it could be 10 years, whatever the case may be. But if that's going to be your final home, you're like, hey, I'm retiring. This is where I'm going to live the rest of my life. Wouldn't you want it to breathe better and be more efficient?
I mean, I personally would, but, to each their own, right?
I know.
But yeah, no, I absolutely think so. And I know that, you've done several different dehumidifiers for our clients, CL100s that we've had come back and they're not clean, clean per se, and need something to be done to get those moisture levels down. Talk about why you use the type of dehumidifier that you use, because I know that you're not, the cheapest in town for it, but we know that you're using a good quality product, but why is that?
Well, nobody's going to go down there and play with it, maintain it, and all this stuff. It has to hold up. It's an horrible environment. So you have to get one. When I say commercial grade, I mean, that's basically what it is. These are commercial grade dehumidifiers that we use, not the ones you go from the Lowe's or Walmart and get. Those are good for like doing a room in a finished basement. And this room is really moist and you want to keep it under control. Those are perfect for that. That's what they were designed for. They were not designed to go into a crawl space where it's dusty, musty, and all that. They'll clog up. They'll run forever. They'll never shut off. A commercial one, you set it at a certain percentage, it'll get there and then stop. It shuts off. Then when the percentage gets 4 to 5% off of that, plus or minus, it'll cut back on. And it maintains, and it pulls all that moisture out of the atmosphere, condenses it, then you have the condensation pump, and it pumps it outside the house.
Right.
Just like your AC does.
Yeah, and I know you and I had talked about this one time is, we can go and install a dehumidifier all day long, but if you don't seal off those vents, then
you're trying to dehumidify the earth.
Exactly.
And that'll never happen.
Exactly.
So you got to know what you're doing when you put them in, what you're looking for, and like I said, and where you put it in the crawl. You can have high and low ends of a crawl. If you put it all on the high end, it's probably not drawing that air over from the low end.
Interesting.
So you kind of want to be more centralized, but sometimes you need to have it focused. Sometimes the problem is this side of the house, so you need it a little closer over there, and you're not trying to dry out this side. You're finding that balance under the house, and you do that by taking moisture readings and finding out where water intrusion might be coming from and stuff. And sometimes you got to have a sump pump in there because water is coming through or underneath the foundation, and I needed to get out of there quickly. And that's why you put a sump pump in.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, some houses need both. And then some houses don't need that extreme. Some houses you go in there and you hit the floor, the crawl floor, and it's dust. But yet you got high moisture reads because of your ductwork. So you can... Sometimes you just need, and the ductwork stops cross ventilation. That's why you have crawl vents around your house. It's for the air to go in, air go out. It's to help dry up. Put a big old pipe in there, ductwork. Now air hits there, you don't get cross. Nothing's going. More stuff's coming in and just kind of staying and filtering.
Right.
And you're building like a terrarium. You're getting evaporation, condensation. So what I do is I put a power vent, and it's got its own settings on it for humidity. You set it on the same thing. It blows air out this vent, causing all the other ones to suck in and come across, go under that. Now I'm creating cross ventilation.
Very
or
nice.
Forced ventilation.
Right. And
a lot of times that can take care of your problem. It can bring it down, to acceptable levels. And the good thing about it, like I said, it doesn't run all the time. It's actually got a humidistat on it. It shuts off when the humidity hits a certain level, whatever you set it to.
Right. So what I'm kind of hearing is that, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, right? A lot of ways to remediate these moisture control issues.
And it doesn't always have to be the high dollar, which, I mean, it could work for most all of them, but sometimes it can't. If you got too low of a crawl, you can't get the dehu under there. And if you set it wrong, you set it on the high and leave, you dry it too fast, and then that's when we go back into all your joists will start cracking.
Right.
So
last thing on moisture control, I mean, I know I've seen several reports come back and had high moisture control. What's the highest readings that you've seen in a home?
In the 90s, but that's because the wood was actually saturated. It was wet.
Wow.
That's because, and where you usually find that is doors, where the flashing over time has either moved or something. So when it rains, instead of going this way, it goes this way into the crawl. And now your sill plate is just getting soaked every time it rains.
Wow.
So that's what, it might as well be underwater.
Yeah, so definitely don't want to have that happen.
No, you do not.
So I think we beat that horse good enough. Something that we deal with a lot in South Carolina is roaches. You talk to people from the Northeast and out west, they don't have to deal with that as much, at least.
No,
we are known for our bugs and roaches around here. We have the palmetto bug, the infamous flying cockroach that is probably my least favorite to have to deal with. Pretty tricky to catch. But talk about that, and is there a certain kind that is worse or more problematic? How can folks identify that and know when they're calling in saying, "Hey, I've got a roach problem," but how can we help them kind of identify what that is and if it is a bigger problem than?
Yeah. Well, all our roaches that are from Carolinas that are here outside, the good thing, they are occasional invaders. They don't really want to be inside. I mean, they do because they like, if it's too hot or too cold, too rainy, they like what we like, 70 degrees and dry. But they eat rotten vegetation. So your palmetto bug, your water bug, is all the same bug. Okay. It's the American cockroach. The way you can tell him, full grown, he can get to be inch and a half, 2 inches long. Top of his head, he'll have a yellow halo around it. That's the American roach.
Okay.
Now, but tricky. Now, when they're smaller, they look just like the other ones, smoky browns, brown banded. You kind of got to know what you're looking at for those. But the good thing about it, they're all kind of the same, and they all fly. There's only one roach that doesn't fly, and that's the German roach.
Okay.
Has wings, but it doesn't fly.
Okay.
So all these other roaches, they come in because they can sense the temperature change up to 50 feet. They're going by a door. Cold air is coming out. It's 90 degrees outside. They're like, yay, get by the cold air. You come and open the door to take groceries in, let the dog out, whatever the case may be, kids going in and out. Nobody's looking at the threshold when they walk out.
Right.
You're looking at where you're going. It just pops in. Runs around, and they're not smart enough to know how they got in, so they don't know how to get out. So that's why you see them. You think you see 4 or 5. It's usually the same one. He's running all over the place trying to get back out. But when they come in, you find them in the kitchen, you find them in the bathrooms. Water's the essence of life. You can live longer without food than you can water.
Right.
And this is a little bug, so he needs some water. So they're going to go find water. There's water in pea traps. They sense the moisture. That's what draws them to those areas.
Okay.
That's why they call them water bugs, because you always see them in the bathtub or something like that. But that's why. They can be controlled. Outside, you can use baits. And the reason I don't like to come inside to do that is that if you don't want the cats on the porch, you don't put the milk on the porch. You want them out in the yard, same thing with the bait. Put it outside, let them eat it outside. If I put it inside, I'm drawing more in.
Right.
I don't want to draw more in.
Is that something that you see a lot when you're going out at homes or dealing with these types of calls, that maybe like someone else is going to put traps inside bait stations inside?
A lot of people, depending on the company, or they listen to their neighbors, this is how I got rid of them type things. Yeah, you make your problem worse sometimes. But like I said, you can still pretty easily to get under control if you know what you're doing. And like I said, the products I use, you can go buy. The only thing you don't have is my knowledge. That's what you're paying for when you do pest control with a good company. You're paying for that guy's knowledge of how to do things. So then we talk about, like you said, a roach. So everybody's saying a roach is a roach is a roach. Not true. If you got little black ones and their wings are shorter than their abdomen, those are Oriental roaches. And if you see Oriental roaches, I mean, they're black. You got sewage problems. They live in raw. So they live in raw sewage.
They are darker than your American roach.
Yeah, American roach is kind of burgundy, brown and burgundy.
Okay.
The Oriental's black. The German is light tan. And we'll get to the German in a second, but Oriental, if you see that, you got another problem. You got a sewage problem somewhere. A pipe's busted or something like that. That's why you'll see those. And then you got Germans. Germans, like I said, they're full grown, half an inch. They're very fast. They're the ones that, you cut the light on in the kitchen at 3 o'clock in the morning and you see 20 of them scatter.
That's a nightmare right there.
Well, the bad thing about them is how they get out of hand. So you say, hey, I got roaches. So you go to the store, you buy which everybody buys at Lowe's or Home Depot, is Home Defense. The worst thing you could ever use on German roaches.
Now, why is that?
Because it's a repellent.
Okay.
So what I do is I'm spraying it. Where are they going? They're hiding in the walls. Well, if they're hiding in the walls, got nothing better to do, what do? You mate with everybody in there, you make more. So you're making your problem worse. You think, oh, I made it go away. And then a month later, you're like, oh, why is it so terrible now? That's why. So the other thing is the German roach, they eat what we eat, what the other roaches don't. And they, like I said, when Mother Nature gives you something, she takes something away. And so she gave them the ability to eat the same food we eat. So she took away their flight. They don't fly. So if there's roaches in your house, take off on the countertop and fly, it's not a German. Like I said, they don't fly. Now, there are a couple of other roaches that look like them. Pennsylvania wood roach looks like a German. Japanese roach looks like but they live outside and they fly very well. But we're not overpopulated with them here.
Right.
And but with Germans, so the female, she carries an egg sac on her back, on her abdomen. She'll carry it all the way up to term. But if somebody comes in and starts spraying stuff and say, oh, look, and they spray her, she can drop it. She can take over here and she dies. It will still go to term. Holds 30 to 40 babies. And in 3 weeks, those can have babies. Start doing that math.
Yeah.
That's how it gets out of hand. They're like, oh, we only saw a few like a month ago. Now we see a ton. Yeah, that's why. And you're spraying Raid or something and you're killing the big ones. The egg sacs are still falling off and they're hatching, and so you got a brand new population. So what we do when we come in, we treat. We want to knock down the population, but we also want to have stuff for the egg sacs that hatch.
Right.
So we put IGRs out, which is an insect growth regulator. So what that does is the first time they molt, they grow their wings and they grow their sex organs. This messes it up, and they can't. Now they're all sterile. So I just come back on my next 2 visits and get the rest of them. And I'm not worried about anybody else mating because I got IGRs out.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be able to mate. And the way you know it's working, you'll see roaches running around with crinkled up wings. They're all mangled looking. And that's how you know your IGRs are working.
Interesting. Yeah, I never even knew about that. But at absolute worst case, if you don't know what you're looking at, take a picture of it and send it in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. Case. I say either catch one, put it in a Ziploc. I'll let you know when I come out there. Or, but I can sit here all day and show you a bunch of pictures that people take of bugs and send it in, and they're just hazy dots.
Yeah.
People don't take the time. Stand still, get focused. They don't do that. They just.
Yeah.
So so you don't get the best with pictures. I get the best if I have a specimen.
Right.
Take a paper towel and just kind of scoot it into a Ziploc, lock it up, tape it up, whatever. Or just get a piece of Scotch tape and just go over the top of it and fold it in.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Okay.
And then you call us, we get out there, we can positively identify it by having a body to look at.
Right. Yeah, I could definitely see how that would be helpful, but I could also see a lot of people, if they're calling us to do that, they're like, I don't want to touch that thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can see that. So we've kind of covered that. Another thing that I know that we run into is different types of bees, wasps, hornets, honeybees versus carpenter bees. Are there some that are worse than others? Do they want to get inside? Is there a good way to help kind of prevent from it? Is all of that stuff covered with just regular pest control? How does that work?
Regular pest control covers basic pests. It's not specialty pests. Specialty pests would be your hornets, like your bald-faced hornets. How do you know you have a bald-faced hornet? If you look outside and you got like a gray basketball stuck to your house and things are flying in and out of it, more likely bald-faced hornets.
Okay.
They're black with a white face. Wasps, paper wasps, things you'll see up in the corners, usually in the eaves of a house like this, that you can see the honeycomb and see things flying. That's paper wasps. They're not as aggressive, and that's why you see all these crazy videos, guys taking them with the bare hands and squishing, because they're not that aggressive. They have a mahogany wasp down in Alabama, which are very aggressive, so different animal.
But we don't really have a lot of those.
We don't have none. Bees, okay, everybody's going to call in and they're going to call most everything a bee. Just like call every snake a copperhead.
Yeah.
But bees, honeybees, furry. First thing you want to see about them. Not aggressive at all. You can walk right up to where they're flying in and out of. They don't care about you. As long as you're not messing with them, they'll just keep flying around you. But are they overly protected? Well, they used to be a full protected. They're not now. But me, as a pest control guy, I'm not going to go out there and try to kill your honeybees. I'm going to go out there and get you in touch with a beekeeper, because the beekeeper like to have them. But there's certain times of year they'll take them. They won't take them at the end of spring, because all the honey they collected all through the summer, at the end of summer, is all in that wall. And if he goes and takes them away, they're no longer fanning it. Now you're going to have all kinds of stuff in your house that you didn't want, and you're going to blame him. So he waits until
bringing in the roaches because of the honey.
Yeah, well, he waits until the winter goes by. They'll consume all the stuff they stored. Now it's empty, and then he'll come do the pheromone queen thing and pull them all out and take them out for you. Do it for free if you haven't tried to spray them first, because he's not going to bring infected bees back to his hives.
Right.
So if you suspect honeybees, don't do anything. Either call a beekeeper or call a good reputable company that will get a beekeeper for you.
Okay.
Yellow jackets. Everybody growing up in the South knows about yellow jackets.
Yep.
You either been stung by them or you know somebody who's been stung by them. I've been doing it for 18 years, taking care of yellow. I've only been stung twice.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been stung more than that, and I hadn't even done pest control.
And I don't wear a bee suit or anything. The key is staying completely still. They attack on movement. And if one lands on you and you're around a whole bunch of them, if you smack them, now they attack on pheromone. They know as soon as he dies, he spits out a pheromone. That's why they keep going. That's why you see people running all the time after they smacked one. They're all going to the pheromone. So if one lands on you, let them sting you. The worst case scenario, you only get one sting, and they just walk away slowly.
Huh. And do yellow jackets have the ability to sting you multiple times
yes,
too?
Yes, they do. Honeybee's the one that loses its stinger and dies.
Okay, gotcha. But so to my understanding, is a paper wasp, is that considered in your general pest control?
If it's on the house, yes. We usually do when we go and we knock down spider webs and stuff around the house, and we see nests, we'll knock them down. And if we're treating, you go from a fan spray, there's a nest, you just turn it over to a solid spray, hit the nest, go down, and then we come back and de-web, knock it down.
Gotcha. So yeah, pretty easy to deal with.
Pretty easy. Well, reachable. Now I've seen them. You're talking about second story, and then in the gables, that's really 3 stories up. My sprayer can bear. If it's no wind, I can hit it. But if there's wind blowing, I'll never hit it.
Gotcha.
So there's sometimes we can't get to stuff, but they're not bothering you. In the wintertime, they go away.
Okay, very good.
Things that you can do prevent them. Routine pest control.
Yeah,
that's probably your best bet.
Okay, good to know. So I think that kind of covers a good bit of general pest control topics and what folks can look for going through CL100, moisture control, all that good stuff. And I always like to kind of end our podcasts on doing some fun stuff and talking about different stories, things like that. What are some kind of interesting finds that you've seen in crawl spaces? And, I know it's maybe not, something scary or interesting per se to you, but if I went up under that crawl space, I'd be coming running back out.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what people will put under a house. And it's amazing what people will build over. I've gone over 40-foot crevices, but they're going to drill for a well, and it never hit, but they didn't fill it back in. And you're crawling around, and thank God there's not a black poly across it, because you go right down in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people will put boards over it and stuff. I've seen full cars under a house. I've seen a tractor under a house. I go back to people all the time.
We're not talking about like a Tonka truck or a toy tractor.
I'm talking about full size.
How does that fit under a house?
I don't know. It's like it was there. They put the foundation around, built over top, and just decided to leave it there.
I guess it's got a lot of steel on it. Maybe it's helping some way.
But the unfortunate is I find a lot of people's pets. They're like, oh yeah, a little Fluffy ran away 3 months ago. I was like, unfortunately, I found Fluffy.
Yeah.
So, and being under houses, like with snakes, snakes only go under a house for 2 reasons. it's either the shed or it saw food going in there and it's looking for food. Mm-hmm. Other than that, they're not living there. They're not trying to make home. They'd rather be outside. But I mean, I've been under with skunks, possums, raccoons. The scariest thing is a mother cat with kittens.
Oh, yeah.
She is super aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that's ever scared me.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you even manage something like that? Just turn around and go back out?
I keep shining my flashlight in his face and hopefully keep blinding it. And let me do my job, and I keep on going.
Yeah.
And then I let the people know that that's under their house.
God. You're a braver man than I am. I would not want to deal with that. I'd probably be like, hey, we need to have someone come out here and get these cats out here before
I'm not
come
doing it.
in.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll go under there. I mean...
That's what I'm saying. You're a better man than I am, because I wouldn't even get up under there. I don't want to be getting cat scratch fever or nothing like that. If you don't, it
means you got to go back twice.
That's true, but hopefully the cat's not there when that happens. So we talked about, interesting finds, things that you've seen out in the field. Definitely some kind of gross things that we've seen out there. Normally we'll end the podcast with asking 3 random questions to our guest. But instead of doing that, I figured that since you're a bug guy, we do something a little different. So I went to the store, actually, and bought several different bugs for us to try today. We've got, let's see, some worm snacks, Mexican spice. I have a feeling that'll probably be my favorite. And then we've got crickets, sour cream and onion, and salt and vinegar. And then finally for dessert, we've got, are these more worms? You would know, I suppose. Chocolate covered.
Everything's just for chocolate, I reckon.
So chocolate-covered worms. So I figure we just dive into these and see which ones we like best. We'll rate them, and then we'll top it off with a little dessert action. What do you think?
I think you might understand why bugs like eating bugs.
This is not how I planned for my day to go today, to be eating crickets. Honestly, I've been kind of dreading doing this podcast episode because I'm not a bug guy. You're saying that you get out there and, crawling around with a screwdriver and a flashlight. You're like an 8-year-old kid again.
I wasn't eating them.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I didn't even get scissors or anything. Hopefully we can just open them right up. All right, so which one do you want to try first?
Of course, sour cream.
Sour cream and onion? These are literally what you feed chickens. Like you get
go fishing.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it'd be kind of hard to get them on a line, but
that one's open.
God. Oh man, I'm not big on this. I always see the videos of people eating bugs and stuff, and it just.
So what's that?
That's the sour cream and onion right here.
Give me a sour cream and onion one.
Uh-oh.
You get the third one.
Yeah, maybe we'll save this for you, Dustin. All right. Cheers to you. His head fell off.
Tastes like a corn nut.
Yeah, it does, actually.
And then I don't taste any sour cream and onion.
No. Tastes legs. Not the worst in the world.
Private ballot. That's not my favorite.
Yeah, I don't think that was very good.
And was that sour cream?
That was the sour cream and onion. So this is salt and vinegar here.
You be big chunky.
Ah, dude, he's massive. Yeah. Look at how big this thing is. Yours is tiny.
Oh no, packed full of flavor.
Good protein for you.
That one actually had flavor.
That was good.
That one had flavor. Definitely better.
You know, in terms of how quote
Bugs
unquote good.
go.
Yeah. If I had to eat that, I could eat that. Ooh, got a little aftertaste of that vinegar in there too. Truly salt and vinegar. At least I haven't had taste to it though.
Couple of
All right, here's our Mexican spice. What kind of worms even are these?
These are mealworms.
Mealworms. All right. Cheers to you.
That was just like eating cardboard.
Yeah. I don't know that it tastes well.
Might creep up on you.
All right, I'm going to try this on its own after I wash it down a little bit. You need a sip of water or anything to wash it down?
Need a palate cleanser. Tastes like a stale Frito.
Yeah. I like how you said that, Frito. I like that one better than the sour cream and onion, I think. The first one that we did.
Oh, yeah, no, that was definitely.
That one's got a little bit of flavor to
that
it.
had no flavor.
Yeah, that was not good.
At least that had, yeah, you're right.
You're really tasting bug in that first one that we did. So I'm kind of glad we just...
Bug.
I'm glad
Taste
we got
bug
that.
in all of them.
Well, yeah, but like, you know, I can put it away out of my mind if I'm sitting here thinking it's a, you know, oh, it's just a peanut or something, but...
Get a chocolate, white chocolate and milk chocolate.
Are you a white chocolate guy? Never really been
Actually,
like...
they said white chocolate's not really chocolate.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know, but it's not.
I don't know, but I know it ain't chocolate.
I've seen it.
I think this is a mix. This is a cricket and a worm. It's got to be, right?
It's a worm.
Cheers to you.
Or a ricket. I would rather eat the... That almost tastes like a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Where are you getting peanut butter out of there?
Maybe that wasn't an insect at all.
Oh, man.
I think we ought to save this for the rest of the people in the building.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, we're going
I
to...
think they all need to partake.
100%. 100%. If they're going to be a part of the team, then they got to, you know, saddle up and do what the big boys are doing over here in the studio.
When you're talking to your customers, I even know what they taste like.
That's right. Yeah, there you go. So here first from the bug guy, you know, when you have another pest control guy come out, ask him, you know, hey, you act like you know a lot of what you're talking about, but have you ever eaten any of them? They hadn't. Not your guy.
Yep.
Johnny's your guy, clearly.
Got proof.
So you're thinking salt and vinegar number one,
and
then Mexican spice. Are we in agreement on the ratings there, basically?
Yeah, that one's, and then for dessert.
Yeah, I mean, dessert was great. If you had to compare these, would you put the dessert first?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's just because very chocolatey. Yeah, and I'm a sweets guy too myself, so I'm a chocolate fiend, so I'm all for it. Thanks for joining in with us today, Johnny. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you stayed to the end. Got to see the special surprise of us eating some bugs on camera. That probably will not happen again. I'm not keen on this becoming a eating show where we do, you know, what's the nastiest thing we can get Blake to try and eat now. Please don't send any suggestions in to do that anymore because I will probably politely decline. Unless you want to come on with us and do it, then maybe we'll talk.
There you go.
But anyways, thanks for coming in, Johnny.
Thanks for having me.
If you guys ever need anything pest control related, termites, moisture control, CL100s, just routine pest control at your house or business, give them a call, 864-215-4810. Or you can always get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with them. But they do great work, good local company here in the upstate. And you know, a lot of folks around here now are not local in terms of pest control. Most of them are now national brands, or at least they've been bought out by a national brand, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's not truly, the big guys are no longer local.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that, not even the United States.
Still getting
Little leg
insects.
here and there.
Yeah. It's like flossing my teeth or something. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching. Keep it local. Give Johnny a call, and thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of Truth Over Harmony. Stay tuned for episode 7. See you next time. All right.
Word. I need some water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like you. I got bug parts.
Yeah.